Hello and welcome back to Eastburn Models. Today we're going to be trialling out some new paints that we've had delivered. The Timbertech, don't know if it'll zoom on that, but the Timbertech paints, I got them in a box of 12. So we're going to put these through this spray gun and see how they spray. My normal paints that I use, if I just reach around here, are normally Vallejo ones. So normally I use these ones, but I just thought I'd give these a go and see if we can get some good paint work on them. So we'll go ahead and mix one up. Just make sure that's alright. Yep. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to thin these down, the acrylic paint, with acrylic thinner from Tamiya. So you always want to start off with putting a little bit, a couple of drops into the bottom. I always fire the couple of drops out. A couple of drops there. And then we'll put a few drops of that in. Put that into there. And a couple of drops. Just with a paintbrush, just give it a mix round. Yep. And this colour is called Emerald Green. So we'll see what this does. Let's get a test sample. And these are my new test samples that let's get one I can clip to at the moment. Let's put it there. So these are just the old metal cars that you can buy. I've got a big box of them down here that I take all bits out of them. They're just kids' toys, but I take all bits out of them and then I can use them as test subjects. A lot of people use plastic spoons and that, but these I've got hundreds of them. So right, let's go. See, what you need to do first is you need to give it a light coat first, just a dusting. That's all, and then we'll put it under flasher, what I call the flasher, just to flash that coat off. So we can go in with another, and again it actually sprays really nice paint. And then we'll flash that again. Really nice to spray. This paint to me actually sprays better than the Vallejo. You've got really nice coverage on it. Just 20 or 30 seconds under there. That'll just help so we can get another coat on there. Yep. And then we'll just go in for the last coat. And we'll just put a bit more paint in because I didn't mix enough. Put that there. Just give that a stir. Should have mixed enough really. Oh, perfect. And then we'll go in and flash this back off. Give it more of a wet coat this time. And there we go. That's a lovely colour. Absolute lovely colour is that. So we'll keep that under flasher now just to dry off, and then I'll go change these, wash the brush out, and we'll go for a different colour. What I do with the paints, because it's still half full is that, and I don't want to waste it, so I bought these, they call them urine sample bottles. I buy them in bulk, but they've got sealable lids. So I just tip the remainder of the paint into the top of there and just reseal it, and then I'll just label it with the emerald green on it. So then I know that, because it's already pre-thinned is that, so I can use that later down the line. Right, so we're back again now. We're now going to do the Timbertech. I think this one's called Middle Yellow. Looks a bit orangey to me, but I think it is yellow. So we'll go ahead and thinning this down a little bit. Nearly forgot to put the Tamiya thinners in first. A couple of drops of that. Then we'll just make sure we've got enough this time. And then we'll give it a stir. Throw that into there. Let's get rid of these. Lovely. So now we'll pick as next subject. So we'll go for this one. And like I said, because like before, we'll just give it a light dusting. And then we'll flash it. Looks a bit mustardy, this one. We'll just flash it off. And then we'll go in for a second light coat. We'll flash that off again now. And then we can go in for the last coat. Which will be a bit more of a wetter coat this time. Bit slower. Then we'll do top. Just do that spoiler. So as you can see, a lovely colour. Absolute lovely colour, that one. It is more of a mustard colour, I've got to admit. And this one's middle yellow, but we'll let that flash off and then we'll come back with the next colour. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the rose red. So we'll start with that one. Make sure we don't spill anything. Couple of drops of that. Give that a mix. Looks a lovely colour. Just turn the... There we go. Yep. Right, so we'll get the next one. And we'll flash that off. And then we can go in again. Now I'm sure the colours will come out a lot different if it was on a white primer, but mine's grey at the moment, so I will do another video of them going over grey, white as well. It's just I've just had a batch of cars, that's all, that's already grey. Just let it flash off again and then we'll give it another coat and that'll be that colour. And that, yeah, rose red. So the Timbertech paint seems to be doing really well, and it's all acrylic, so let's go over a bit slower now. Give it a nice wet coat. Yep, really nice colour. So we'll leave that there to flash off while we get cleaned up and we'll be back again. Right, so here we go again. We've got, this time, just a standard pink. So we'll give this a go now. I've already got my test subject here. Just this little 4x4. Make sure there's nothing. Right. To paint in there, move that over there, quick stir. Yep, here we go again. Just spitting a bit, this one. Might just be a bit of water left in spray gum. Yeah. And then we'll flash that. Sometimes it just needs a little bit longer to flash it. It all depends. Different paints take different things, but we'll just give it another coat. Go a bit slower this time. Yep, let's let it flash off again, then we'll give it another, that final coat. Yeah, there's just a couple of water spots in that could have been left on nozzle at gun. But this is why we always test it on things first before you actually hit the model you want. And there we have it. Nice pink. So I'll get cleaned up and we'll be back. So now we're going to be going off to the Timbertech Sky Blue. If we can get the lids off. So we'll just make sure everything's out at gun. A couple of drops in there. And then we'll thin this down a little bit. You kind of get to know how much you should put in to what will work. Everybody's different when it comes to airbrushing. Everybody's got their own techniques. Perfect. And then here we go on to this Porsche. We'll flash that off. It's like more of a baby blue is this one. Paintwork on this Porsche is not that clever. I think the metal's deteriorating. They're old cars, these. Flash that one off. Some colours you might only need to give them 2 coats. Then there's others that need a bit more to get it to work. And sometimes they take longer to flash off, even though it is acrylic paint. So you just use your time. You just start cleaning up a bit. There we go. That's it. So as you can tell, it's practically the same colour. So now we'll go ahead and give this a clean and be back with another one. Right, so we're back at the booth and we're going to be spraying this time orange red. Let's give this a go. Make sure it's all clear. That there. Yep. Get the next one. Better put lid on with this one. I filled it a little bit too full. We'll flash that off. And then we can go in again. So we'll flash it off and give it another coat. You could get away with this one on the second coat really. It's such a dominant colour is this one. Right, we'll go in again for final coat. We'll go a little bit slower this time. More of a wet look. Yep, just the top now. There we go. Nice colour. Really nice colour. So we'll get cleaned up and come back. Right, so here we are again. We're now going to be going over the Naples yellow. So let's get some of that mixed up. Looks a nice colour. A couple of little drops in there. It's a pen. Just make sure we don't spill anything this time. Looks a nice yellow, that. There we go. Yep. Let's put lid on. Right, so we'll just do a light dusting. And we'll flash that off. Yep. Go again. Another Reesbury light dusting. Give that a flash off now. Yeah, it's a nice yellow, this one. Naples yellow. Nice yellow in the bottle. But I do like the way the Timbertech sprays. It's a nice spray. It's got good blockage on it. It seems to cover really well. Especially on these nasty little car frames that I've got. You know, so these come, some of them are 30, 40 year old. They're all battered up and that, and I just stripped them. Might as well, because they're all die cast, so they're just good for everything what I need them to do. So we'll go over again. Try and put a little bit more of a wet coat on this time. And I think that'll do it for that colour. Yeah. Yep, so we'll let that flash off now, and then we'll get cleaned back up and we'll be back soon. Right, now we'll mix some Timbertech Cliffio Blue. I think that's how you pronounce it. So we'll see what that one does. A couple of drops of that. You will need to thin this paint down. It is a bit on the thick side. Got a couple of drops, a few drops won't harm it. Yep. Knocking everything over. Yep. Right, so again, we'll just take us time and just do nice even. Wow, that covers really well. Flush that off. Do a little push here. It's alright. Again, just another bit heavier coat. Flash that one off. And then we'll give it a final coat. It's going to take about 3 coats, this. I could have got away with it in 2, but I'd rather do it in 3, and then I don't run the risk of having runs. But I do love, my blue's my favourite colour anyway. So, but I do like this one. So we'll go in a bit slower now. Wow, what a colour. There we have it. That's a lovely colour. Lovely colour, so we'll leave that flashing and I'll go clean this out and we'll be back. Here we go. We'll going on to a colour now. Flesh colour. Again, it's all by Timbertech. So we'll go around. Couple of drops. That's it. Yep. And then we'll get this one, give it a light dusting to start with. We'll just let that flash off to that, that's all right. It's actually a nice colour, nice colour. So again, this is just a computer fan that I've got. I took out of an old computer, so it just 12-volt adapter onto it, and it just allows you, instead of using the airbrush, because some airbrushes, if people can't control them, they tend to spit paint, so I don't want that, so I just put it under this little fan flasher, I called it. Right, so we'll just go again now, go a bit heavier. And there we go. Nice colour, really nice colour. So we'll get cleaned up and come back. Okay, we're back now with cobalt blue. So let's give this a go. A little bit too much there. That's it. That over there. Oh yeah. Just wanted to, that's fine. Right, we'll give this a go. Got something stuck, I think. Oh no, it's working now. Yeah, it's working now. We'll flash that off. So this is the cobalt blue. Just seem to be struggling to start with this one. Some of them, I have noticed with the Timbertech, they're not all the same consistency. You do have to add more to it, more thinners to certain ones. Let that one flash off. And then we can give this one a final coat, because it'll be a heavier coat, this one. There we go. Oh, it's a nice colour, really nice colour. So we'll leave that one to flash off and then we'll clean up again. Okay, we're back with the last colour now. So this one is just titanium white. So we'll get this one mixed up. Give that a good mix. Yep, right. Stuck to my glove. Yep, there we go. Just a dusting. Let's flash that one off. I did do the black one, which I will show you in the end result, but the camera seemed to have broke on me, so I had to reset everything. But it's not that important that I show you how to spray that, because I've shown you on every other colour. Right, so we can go back over it again now. Touch that cabin at the back. That's it. And that way. Right, we'll flash that one off. It goes without saying that the thicker you put the coat on, the longer it takes to flash off. That's why with these airbrushes you just do it in slow coats, just light coats. There we go. So a bit slower. I think I'll just get another coat out of this white paint. I did put that on a bit thicker, just because it was covering grey, that's all. It helps with having the size of the spray booth that I built. I've got plenty of room to put flashing machines in and stuff. Right, so we'll go back over this one now. Just don't need to be as heavy as the last one, because it won't be fully cured. That's it. There we go. We've done all the colours now. Nice white, that. Really nice white. So we'll let that flash off. and I'll go clean up and we'll meet back at the table and we'll go through the colours. Okay, so we're back at the bench, and I went ahead off camera and I resprayed these colours but using white primer, so we can see the contrast between the two colours by using different primers. So not much change, to tell you the truth. There are a couple of them that come out, I thought they'd come out brighter, but like they come out a bit different colour really. But it just goes to show that the base primer you put on alters the colour of the paints. So what we did with this emerald green is, this is the white primer and this is the black primer. There's not much difference in them ones at all. So basically you can use white or black on the emerald green, so it won't alter your colours. But when we get to this what's middle yellow, this was on the white primer and then this was on the black primer. So when I was spraying this, I did say it looks a bit mustardy. So don't get me wrong, if you're going for a colour like that, it just goes to show you don't really need to buy a specific paint in that colour. You just spray it on black primer. But the white one came out bright, a lot brighter. So to me that's like a yellow, even though, you know, we are talking a mid-tone, which to be fair it probably is, probably just some people's eyes see it differently. So that was a big change in itself. And then we get to the rose red. Now the rose red came out nice on both colours, to tell you the truth. That was the white primer and that was the black primer. Now when you look at the bottle, it's got a deep purple, so it is roughly that colour, but it's come out very pinkish on white primer. And that's the whole reason for doing this test on different coloured primers, just so that we know what colours we're going to get from different primers on the paints that we're using. So for me to get that exact colour, if that's the colour that people want, or you specifically go for that colour, you're best off putting it on black primer, because white primer, it's very pink. So but I'll keep all these test samples now with the bottles, so that I know that when it comes to doing a model or wanting to spray something, I know what them paints look like on different primers, so I can choose whether to use them paints or use Vallejo's. So when it comes to the pink, it just come out, that's white primer and that's black primer. So it come out a lot brighter, but obviously on the black it was more of a duller pink, but still both nice colours. There's not much shade difference in them. It's when you get them to a certain light that you do see it. So I know that them two on different coloured primers work differently, so I can keep them now. I think that were there actually. I'm getting mixed up. I should have labelled them before I moved them. No, it were there. That's white primer. I only know that because I touched it when it was wet and it rubbed off a little bit. So right. Now, sky blue, it didn't really make a difference which colour we used. It still come out sky blue. So now I know that with that colour alone, that I can use white primer or grey primer. Now I weren't using a light primer really for the grey. It was pretty dark, so that's what you're probably seeing at the moment. So they didn't come out too bad. I'm just trying to think which one was which now. The Porsche was there. I remember the video. Right, so then we move over to the orange red. It's more of a sunburst colour, this, but that was on the white primer and that was on the black primer. So you can tell why I call it the sunburst, but it looks brown, but it's got orange in it, you can tell. So I now know which one. If I want the orange, go for the white primer. If I want more of a burnt colour, I'll go for the black primer. But it all depends on what you're wanting. Now when it comes to this yellow, the Naples yellow, nothing really changed between them. That was white. Again, that was on black. Nothing changed. It just sprayed the same, exactly the same. So they just both look the same. Might look a bit different on the camera because of the lights above me, but from the naked eye, they are exactly the same, which is fine. Same with the Palacio Blue, I think that's how you pronounce it. They put some weird names to these paints. So that's the white primer, and then that's the black primer. Now it did come out darker, which I like that blue. I really do like the darker blue. I like the lighter blue, but I like the darker blue just as much because I sprayed my Discovery car body with the same colour. So as you can tell, because I really liked that, and that is the similar colour that my Land Rover Discovery had on anyway. So, but you know, these Land Rover Discoveries, when I built it back up, they actually come in, I'll just grab one. I actually got them in a bundle of cars that I got when I was buying all these. Oops, oops, I've really knocked the camera now. Oops. You know, it's live. So sorry about that. So yeah, so they came in stuff like this. They were just wanged in toy boxes. So what I've done is I've stripped them because they are badly chipped up, but I kind of like the Discovery. So I just took it to complete bits and put it in stripper. So I'll be doing this at the green as well, in a green. So I do have some Vallejo paints that practically match that, but I think that's got a bit of metallic in it. But I just wanted a nice blue for this one because they're never going to be worth anything. So you might as well put them into colours that you want. It's not worth trying to match the original paint on them for me because they're not really collectors. These were built for kid toy cars, so that's why I prefer, just move my legs here, just to near enough match them, just so they don't look so beat up. And but yeah, so that's what I sprayed it with, the Perfilefio Blue or something. Pronunciation is wrong. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing with them ones at the moment. But I went with a grey. I went with a grey primer on that one because I wanted the deepness of it. Oops, I've done it again. It's my chair leg. Keep going for it. Right, so that's that one. And then this one shocked me really. This was flesh colour. Now obviously on the black primer it came out like a flesh colour. So it shocked me that really. You know, it's a nice fleshy colour. Obviously not my flesh. But then you put it onto a white primer and I thought it had come out a little bit brighter with not having such a deep background. But it came out a completely different colour. So that's, if anybody looks like that, you know, you've been on sunbeds a while. But yeah, it came out a different colours. So I know now for me to keep the name of it, which is a flesh colour, I've always to put it on a black. I mean a grey. I keep saying black. It's because I'm looking at the car there. I've always to put it on a grey primer to keep the flesh colour. But this is why I keep samples of paints on different primers, so I can choose, because just because you get one colour, you could get two colours from the same one just by changing the primer. So that's why I'll keep now these. So I've always got different colours I can play with, like a colour chart basically. And then we got to the Baltic, or the Cobalt Blue. I don't know where I got Baltic from. The Cobalt Blue, which I do like the Cobalt Blue, but there weren't that much of a difference between them with the white primer and the grey primer, apart from this one's just a little bit darker. So there's not much difference between them. So that's basically what I'm aiming for. Now when it comes to the titanium white, they look the exact same. It's just white. That's all it is. Now whether it went on a grey background or, grey black background or a white background, they come out the exact same. So white to me is just a white colour. That's all. You're not going to see any shade difference or anything like that. The black, again, it's just a standard black. It came out on the white and it came out on the black. Don't worry about the texture. On the top here, this little Hummer or Land, I think, it wasn't a Hummer actually, I think it might have been a Hummer, but it was an army one. They need to go back into some, because I use these all the time, so they need to go back into some paint stripper, but for what I need them for, just as a colour reference, they could just stay like that. And then when I change the paints, or I don't have any more of that brand, if we can't get it, then I'll just re-strip all these with paint stripper and then go back and redo them again in the colours that I've got. But yeah, so there's not much of a difference on them really. There might be a tone different, but not much at all. So that is the colours. Now the paints themselves, really nice to spray, didn't take much thinning. The only thing that really got me was they don't tell you on the bottle. It's like if I pick this one, this is a Vallejo colour, this little van here, it's flat, it's a base coat, is that one from the Vallejo range. Now with that one, you can tell it's not got a gloss on or anything like that, it's just a flat colour, and that's what I kind of wanted for the samples. Now with these paints, they don't actually tell you, they just say acrylic colours for airbrush. Now they don't tell you it's got a gloss on it, which, so if you're going for base colours, you don't know with these ones. I'm sure it's written somewhere that, but they're all foreign. So I only speak one language, so that's the problem with, I find with Timbertech. They should be telling you if they've got a semi-gloss or a full gloss. You can't use these paints as base coats. You've got to use a base coat, which I'm alright because I've got the Vallejos. So that's the gripe I've got with them bottles there. It's not a big enough gripe for that I don't buy them again, because I will do. They have some other different colours as well, which I think I'll get. Just some different tweaks and metallics and stuff like that, but that's it for them paints. But if you're wanting a base coat and you're just starting out in airbrushing, you're wanting something that's flat and you're going to put your own lacquer onto it, you can't really use the Timbertechs because they've got a gloss straight away on them. And it's all right having a gloss on if you're keeping the car one colour, But if you're going for a two-tone colour, you can end up with a line. You'll end up with a line where the lacquer sits because there's lacquer in it. And that's not what you want really for feathering in and for stuff like that. So I like to do my feathering in with a base coat because it's just flat. And then I'll put my lacquer on, put your decals on it and then put your lacquer on. But these, as you can see, they've all got a shine to them. Some are more thicker than others, but that's the thing. Other thing I found with the paint, that some of them needed more thinner, and it might not seem like that on the videos because I was just adding the actual thinners, but the more you airbrush, the more you get used to the consistency when it comes out of the bottle, and you kind of get a feel of how much thinners to put in it while it's in the cup. But they did take different, realistically, different thinners, you know, so you can't go across it saying, well, that took 3 drops to thin out in a cupful, you know, half a cupful, 3 drops of thinners, 3 or 4 drops, because then you'd move on to that one and that might take 5, 6. So you'd end up having to waste your time constantly mixing different thinners. Now these are, look how it sits. This is why I like these glasses, these urine sample bottles that I use, because I just store the remainder of the thinned paint into these bottles because they're sealable, and I can reuse that, like I reused it again to do these colours on these white primered. But you can see that it's got good coverage and it doesn't run off and go clear, so it has got good coverage on them. But like I said, they did take a little bit of thinning, some of them, and some of them you didn't really need to do much with them because they were so dominant with the colour. But yeah, so I recommend getting some of these bottles just to see what they're going to look like in the things. You can even mix your paint in these ones. Just not much in this sky blue, but you can mix your paint in them because you can see it. So, and then just reseal it that way, and then the orange, and you've got the Naples yellow, which I've just used a lot of it onto there. You know, the Palifio blue, I'm sure I got that wrong again. So the flesh colour, and I'll just keep all these now with the bottles as a set, so I now know exactly what I'm getting when I spray. So apart from that, that's the colour testing done, and I do recommend the paints. I really do recommend the paints. They've got fantastic coverage on them, blockage. It blocks out the previous colour really quick within a couple of coats, as you've seen. So I do recommend the paints, and I will be using them again, and I will buy them again. But like I said, if you're doing a model or anything like that, then you must bear in mind that it doesn't tell you on the box or on the label or on the ad when you go to buy these that they've actually got a lacquer in them. So if you're wanting a flat coat, I wouldn't go for these. But they should be telling you really realistically what you're getting. And that's about it. So don't forget to subscribe, share and like, and we'll see you next time. Take care, bye bye.